The next type of negative interspecific interaction is that of parasitism. Again, this is not the term you're listening for the first time. You might have heard a lot about parasites. So what do we have in this type of interaction is that a parasite is going to depend on a host for its different requirements. Okay. Parasite would be one organism, it would be dependent on another organism which would be termed as host. So what you see over here is that the interaction, supposedly this is one organism and this is the second organism, one being the parasite and the other one being the host. In gross terms, the parasite would be benefited both nutritionally and for other requirements as well, and the host would be at loss. Okay. This is what this interaction is all about. Now we are going to analyze different types of parasitism and see that what actually this interaction is about, how it is not in complete terms the host is dying as in the case of predation, but yeah, the host is at loss. It is not certain that the host would die, that the parasite would eat up the host as was in the case of predation. The parasite would stay inside the body of host or outside the body of host, but in a way it would be dependent on the host. So parasite certainly is taking benefit from the host, but host may or may not be killed in this particular interaction. But without doubt it is at loss. So the first thing in parasitism that we have is a type of parasitism where we have the host and parasite interacting is the example where we have ectoparasitism and endoparasitism. So we have ectoparasite and endoparasites. Now the example is simple. First, see the name. Name suggests that ecto means outside, endo means inside. If the parasite goes and infests inside the body of the host, it would be known as endoparasite. From your knowledge of animal kingdom that we did in class 11th, there are many examples of endoparasites. Like we have the example of liver fluke, we have the example of tapeworm, we have the example of blood fluke, we have the example of Wuchereria. There are so many examples. Now see over here, instead of writing over here, I am going to write here that Taenia, that is the tapeworm, it goes and infects the human body. So human is at loss while the organism, that is the parasite, is benefiting. Then we have liver fluke, go and infect the liver of some human being. This is the motto of this organism, and again the human would be at loss. Okay, this is the example of endoparasite, and there are many more examples. We did the phylum Platyhelminths and Aschelminths. Over there we did talk about that there are many endoparasites. Roundworm is one such example. The nematodes that we study, they are also infesting various organisms and their bodies and infecting them. Then we have ectoparasite. It would not go inside the body, but externally it would be present over the body and taking the nourishment from the host. Example is leech, lice, ticks. These are outside the body and they are taking the nutrition from the animal whichsoever they have infected. Now there are certain cases where we have plants also which are parasitic in nature. So we have example of cuscuta and mistletoe. These are the plants which are parasitic on other plants. So other plant is losing its nutrition, thus slowly and steadily by their parasitic roots. This plant has characteristic parasitic roots known as Haustoria. You have to remember this name, Haustoria. Such is the arrangement of roots that it goes till the xylem or the vascular tissue of the host plant and takes up the nutrition whichever it is required. This plant is so much dependent on the other plant or the host that it even takes the hormones which are required. The plant growth regulators are also taken up from the plant itself. So you see that inside the parasitism interaction also there is varying degree of dependence on the host. Okay, this is one interaction. Another type is that the parasite could be pathogenic or it could be non-pathogenic. Okay, supposedly the organism is pathogenic on the different organism, but it does not cause any disease, then it would be non-pathogenic parasite, as the example of E. coli. E. coli stays in our body, this is symbiotic though, but it does not harm the human. Okay, it is in a way beneficiary. So this is little bit dicey, you can skip it if you want to, but there are certain pathogenic parasites which go inside the human body and they cause disease, as we had the example of Wuchereria. Wuchereria is a parasite that would cause a disease. Apart from that, we have many protozoans which go inside the body and cause disease. So they are pathogenic. There is example of Plasmodium which is pathogenic and it causes disease. And one thing you have to keep in mind, that these parasites have a lot of reproductive potential, first thing. Second thing is that they have intermediate stages. They have very much resistant cyst stages which enable them to survive whatever condition the host has learnt in its lifetime to avoid parasitic infestation. Okay, so if the parasite is intelligent, or not the parasite, if the host is intelligent to this degree, parasite also has to be intelligent to this degree in terms of adaptive intelligence I am talking about. If the host develops some mechanism for overcoming the parasitic infestation, the parasite also has to evolve that mechanism. So we see the example of co-evolution in this interaction, co-evolution. Okay, and the last thing that we have to study in this topic is hyperparasitism. Parasite on a parasite. So both these 1 and 2 organism would be parasites. Even the host would be parasite on someone. So the example is we have bacteriophages. Bacteriophage, supposedly it infects some sort of bacteria. So this bacteria itself was a parasite on someone, and this hyperparasite is parasitically related to another parasite. So this is hyperparasitism. We had seen that how these parasites have high reproductive potential, and they have adapted themselves for anaerobic respiration because they often go inside the body. Those which are endoparasites, they would have preferred anaerobic mode of respiration, pardon me. They would have a high reproductive potential, they would have many intermediate stages and a good developmental mechanism for development or for bearing cysts and other stages which can withstand whatever adaptive mechanism the host has developed in order to avoid the parasite. So this is all about parasitism. Remember these terms, remember what was the interaction all about, who was getting benefited and who was getting harmed.